a choke or something by order? I order you.
Yeah, I never thought about that. I order you if I'm gonna choke you. Yeah.
Just in case you guys missed the game number 1 just now, we're gonna relive the moment a bit. Just what happened into the game, a bit of recap. We do see a lot of teams drop right in the center of the map, including we have RRQ, Abrupt, and all the teams inside of the circle are quite fortunate to have the circle to be on their favor, including Navi. Navi have been coming up from Jogopul down to Eskakar, all the way from the northern down to the southern side into the center of the map. But for the side of Futbolist, you have to give credits to them because they've been traveling one of the furthest away from the circle, dropping around Nova before.
Yeah, some of them had to travel a little bit further, but so far, no real roadblocks if you can see from the strategy that they deployed. A lot of them just want to get a prime position straight up right in the middle of the circle, and from the way that they move from their checkpoints, what I can see is that they are more interested to look forward for the final few circles rather than trying to stop teams from coming inside. So this is at least what we can see from the first game. So far, no one's really gatekeeping anybody, Juju.
That's very true. Aside from RRQ, I think, and also NOVA-XQF, they are gatekeeping a lot. But I have to say, Navi hold the positions, their fortress so well that they have been surviving all the way inside of a circle till the end of it. Digital Athletics, I'm surprised how fast they got wiped out. Well, Silas, the last one, especially by the players, the pro players. We thought they missed it, but they got it on top.
And yes, nades is definitely a thing. So, yep, the year of the nades, ladies and gentlemen, 2020. Recap here from the previous round, whereby we'll be looking at the circle and their rotation. Now, Futbolist, very, very late, together with a couple of other teams, Zeus eSports as well, very, very late rotation into the zone. They were tanking out the zone very, very long, but at least Futbolist, they managed to sneak in somehow from the northern side.
Oh man, but the circle is kind of hard. With this kind of circle, you only have one way of one direction. And we're talking about it's at the edge of a map. The thing about the circle that at the edge of the map means that a lot of teams will have to bump into each other because the direction they move is only one. It's towards the eastern side, and that's it. And the circle just encloses even further harder for the players because it still comprises a bit of a water ratio in the very last bit. And the bit of recap for you guys to fill the details of what happened in day 2.
And of course, this is a recap from the previous round. As usual, we'll check out the circle and the rotation for these teams. And the circle, a little bit of a deja vu from round number 1. Today, the first Erangel, it's almost similar. It's still on that side, but it just goes on to the left side, further left side, whereby it's just on the outside of the Gatka Mountains. And as we can see, the circle just, a lot of these teams just go smack into the circle, a lot of it. But when we reach like maybe the 4th or 5th circle, we start to see the gatekeeping happening. So I do see the trend here so far. This is something that's being a meta in the PMGC today.
And one more thing I noticed about 4 Erangel maps here, only one Erangel maps that the circle kind of favors towards the eastern side. Most of them will favors more towards the Gatka region. I don't know if you noticed, only one time it's around Milta region there. So is it safer for the teams to actually drop in the western side instead of the east map itself?
Yeah, I do think that the possibility seems to be higher there, but yeah, we never know the circle gods, right? If you don't please them, they won't please you. So it's kind of hard to say. But yep, that based on the percentage, that sounds like it. But okay, this is the final moment where we see that Abrupt, they were a little bit passive.
Especially coming from Futbolist as well as 4 AM here. Both teams have very, very similar ideals and mind gameplays here, where they kind of play either early or late in this regards here when they make a decision here. But enough of that here, ladies and gentlemen. Here we're going to be jumping a little bit of recap here as the map goes here. As you can see, the teams were pretty spread out in initial phase here. When you see the circle kind of scan their way through, in the sense where the first 3 circles was divided in between the mainland as well as the military island here, we see a huge diverge of teams kind of popping off towards the southern section here and also the northern section. And this is what I'm talking about. You saw how Aerowolf was from the southern section here. They actually rotated out towards the western section and then hit towards the northwest section of this inner circle, which they kind of came into this next phase of circle kind of blind in that regards there, Chu.
And one more thing, this is a tricky circle to play with from the very start of the game. We're talking about the circle splits the island into two, and nobody knows, nobody has any idea about where the circle will favor. Will be on the southern side, will be in the mainland, who knows? But in the end of the day, they stick to their guts for Futbolist. They stay a bit on the Sonovska military base, and then they rotate a bit later. But this is where the moment that you talked about, if they flunk, if they messed upon the fight versus Team Secret just now, it might not be their chicken for the first game. Luckily, they got it quite right. The decision making was precise. If they just flunk a bit, then it's going to be a big problem. It's all about how much area you can make. You don't have any room to make any mistakes anymore at this stage. Surprisingly, Sunhawk is actually one of the smallest map 4x4, but these days, it's been one of the slowest games. But before we jump into the next game, number 5, we just recap a bit of just what happened in Erangel.
Yeah, this is what I'm talking about here. Initially here, the circle was kind of centralized in the middle of the Georgia Pool as well. Everyone was expecting a urban warfare. But as soon as at least 4 or 5 teams was kind of occupied there, teams will kind of betrayed by the circle. So I would say circle scam in that regards. And Team Secret Gym, they were one of the teams came in from the northeast section. But to my surprise, not many teams actually prioritizing securing the eastern side here. 4 a.m. was in the northern section. PWA, it was a little bit late here. Tried to take the safe route, tried to use the apartments to try to sneak their way through. But guess what? That's exactly what every single team was kind of figuring out as well. Because in the urban warfare, yes, you have to cover. There's gonna be exposed here. There's more things to work around. But unfortunately, say it was a bloodbath because everyone will be thinking more or less the same ideal strategy, which unfortunately just did not work out for them. However, another game is as the game progressed as well, we saw clips and moments here. The submarine strat here, look at this Zeus. Zio was pretty much sneaking their way through. A1 was kind of occupied as well because he's got his crosshairs off by NOVA-XQF, by Alpha 7, by the guys from the south side as well. It was just a huge bloodbath, but eventually Zeus, they somehow made their way from that vicinity, playing one of the last cards here, being the silent game. I would say the silent team to actually make it to the next phase of circle, which was really nice to watch because they swam from the further side of the river. No one expected them to come, and I believe NOVA-XQF didn't exactly realize they were actually creeping up from behind as well. And eventually, every single team kind of made their way in, got caught off. But this final moment here,
7 Sunhawk, and later we're gonna drop into Erangel, and somebody said no one has let guess the pressure of last day. Midnight gaming. That was funny because nobody can actually expect. But here's gonna be a bit of recap in case you guys missed game number 6 in Erangel.
Yep, and speaking of the recap as well, let's take a look at how it went down, right? Like every single team was kind of spread out as well, no surprise there. Usually teams kind of avoid Pochinki altogether here just because that it's very rare we do see a circle finish in towards Pochinki. But guess what, you know, sometimes life happens, man. Like in competitive setting here, we fear the unknown, you have to expect the unexpected here. RRQ was pretty much the team that kind of sorted it all out here. They understand that, hey, Pochinki is still in the vicinity, we're the kings of Pochinki, let's hold down the fort. But now, let's break it down a little bit more in how it all went down here for Navi, how they able to actually dig so much damage here. If you pay attention to how their positioning was, that they had the church point of vicinity, which usually RRQ would try and contest the position there, which obviously Navi was able to kind of hold their ground here. They get a couple of huge major kills against A7, everyone for 4 AM as well. But what actually happened with Navi's downfall was that Nova and RRQ was simultaneously going for the assault, and they were able to kind of shut them all out. Meanwhile, RRQ, they had the upper hand against Nova, but G9 made a little bit small mistake. Those eSports was able to shot up from 8th place all the way to number 2, tying with the number 1 spot thus far, which is really nice to watch coming from Zeus eSports. Can they keep up their momentum coming from tomorrow's games here? However, here's a little bit later recap here in terms of map predictions here. For those of you who missed out on an early rotation, this was pretty much the map rotation for the western side all the way to the east side here. Flight power dropped to the western side here. A lot of teams kind of struggle into this rotation, but eventually it was a kind of big prank, especially when the circle prioritized their way in towards Yasnaya. Everyone expected it was going to be an urban warfare, which actually happened, but eventually the final circle pulled every
really interesting rotation, I would say. From the one that we saw in, and here we go, we can see the recap here for the previous round. They jumped into military base and they made a very late rotation, as how they always did. Just keep your eyes on the Aerowolf. At this point where everyone else is already on the main island, they are still on the military base island. They rotated from the left bridge into Pochinki and getting into the zone. How did they actually do that? From Pochinki, they moved all the way to prison. They evaded all the fights. They secured that prime position, which was their final fight moment. And wow, what I can say, this is a really good rotation coming in from Aerowolf.
Yeah, and like I was saying as well, early on here, the initial earliest fights as well, Alpha 7 was one of the biggest threats as well. We saw Lawrence and kind of huddle up in the compound, but Mafioso was the one that was kind of outside third-partying his way through here. And yeah, this is the segment as well on the northeast section of the compound here. Konina Power was one of the biggest threat. Eventually BTR had to make a decision, say, you know what, it's time to take out these guys on the west here. Alpha 7 needs to go if we want to try and take this final circle. But as the circle comes by here as well, because at the toll booth here, NOVA-XQF, like based on statistics wise, it's not really that easy to play from this facility. And NOVA-XQF, they've held on for the longest of time. I would say they played it extremely smart. They came up on top. They were able to shut a lot here, and I think one of the first teams that kind of struggled a lot was definitely Abrupt Stayers, I believe. They kind of lost their life against NOVA-XQF. Like NOVA-XQF got the first blood, they went on the hunting spree, they were not afraid to go in for the rotations here, and every team kind of struggled here, and everyone was expecting here, is this a crazy circle? And it might be a Zarki circle as well. And initially we thought, yes, it might be a Zarki circle. You can see a lot of teams starting to spread out towards Zarki region, but guess what? It was a scam. It does not happen all that too often again. And it actually opened up towards one of the mountain terrain into the eastern side, which was really nice. But eventually, this final circle was pretty much the deciding factor here, because NOVA-XQF, they understand that, hey, we have map control in this particular circle. Let's take advantage of the map control and spread out their wings, which they did. And this is the reason why, the moment they did exactly that, they had so much information to work with, they pushed every single team out of their formation and they had to fight each other. And the moment they had the high ground, they know that the western side is clear. This is my territory here. The only forces we need to worry about is Zeus eSports and Navi. And if they take those two teams out, we are in prime position to destroy everyone here. And that's exactly what happened. Look at this. Navi, they tried their best to try and take the fight against NOVA-XQF, but it just didn't. Wait to see what could be happening here. And yeah, I'm looking forward here. But of course, for those guys wondering here what actually went down here, this is going to be a recap of how the map went down for some of the teams here. The flight started off from the southeast corner of Built-Up Power, ending towards the outskirts of 70 here. A pretty eastern approach. A lot of teams kind of need to struggle to push into the west side. Not many major hiccups towards this vicinity here. But of course, teams tried to make a prediction guess here, expecting the circle end somewhere towards the Mount Gatka. Unfortunately, it was a scam. It actually favored Team Secret here. Look at this, how Team Secret repositioned himself. They sacrificed their water tower, knowing that teams like NOVA-XQF and also Team Secret Jin in the vicinity immediately take the initial step to back in towards that small little compound in the southwest corner, which was really great for them in the sense where they had cover, they had vantage points, they had a lot of room to work with. All they gotta do is focus on the other side of a river. But the rest of the team from the northern section here, not so much cover, not so much vantage points as well. Even teams like 4AM struggled in this final circle. But props to Team Secret, because it was pretty much a game-changing strategy, a textbook play for the